Welcome to Mastering Your Monday podcast. And this is the show that talks about boundaries, work-life balance, and living a life where you have control. This is for highly driven professionals who want to develop a more balanced professional and personal life and live out their true values. Those who are ready to grab the reins and change the status quo. The professional who's ready to have a life again and who's ready to take a stand, living in a way that you feel respected, valued, and fulfilled each and every day. We talk about topics like setting boundaries, taking risks, life management, and all the tips, techniques, and strategies to help you master your Monday, one day at a time. Hey, Michelle O'Neill here. Are you as excited as I am? Are you ready for a great conversation? Well, come on, pull up a chair, a ringside, and let's talk the real deal today on episode 11. Are you afraid to take risk? Well, I don't know about you, but I'm at a toss up on this one most of the time, that is. Taking risks doesn't feel good, but it doesn't stop me from taking them. I have no, I said it wrong. They're not two twins, but I have twin granddaughters just over a year old. And because they were preemies, their development is what most people would think of as behind. But I learned that in all actuality, if you look at how early they were born, they're actually ahead of their time and sometimes right on time. But all that to say, I absolutely love watching them learn new things and conquer each challenge to development. And what really amazes me is every time they reach one milestone, the bumps, scrapes, falls, and all, they go ahead and they conquer the next one within a few days. And I thought to myself, "Hmm, that's really life for all of us, isn't it? Each new thing, each challenge, each thing we find ourselves facing can carry with it some bad experiences, some disappointments, some failures, some tears. But that doesn't mean we can't win in the end. It doesn't mean we can't get back up with smiles on our faces, happy tears streaming down our faces, knowing we can't whip this thing all the time, but we can whip it right now with a little tenacity and determination. And I absolutely love watching them overcome each new hurdle life throws their way. Have you ever felt that way? With risk staring you in the face, knowing you're so close, torn between fear and desire. Let me ask you, which one do you succumb to? Which one did you choose? And I know at different times in my life when the two have stared me smack dab in the face, sometimes it was one and sometimes it was the other. So, all that to say, I don't have a perfect score either. And yes, sometimes I succeeded, but other times I failed and failed, dab smack on my face. So, yeah, there is risk. Every decision we make to grow, to advance to the next level in life, it comes with risk. But let me tell you, without risk, there's no growth. Yeah, you may not have backup. There may be risk that you may get hurt somewhere in the process. But after watching them, I believe as young children, it seems that fear really hasn't taken a hold on us yet. The desire to go for the goal, to grab that ring far outweighs the risk. And in fact, I think I want to talk to a child psychologist because I would love to know if they even have a sense of fear in those times during early development. The question is, have they even learned? And yeah, you heard me right. Learned fear yet. And the reason I say that is because it reminds me of something I shared with you in the past. It was that time my mom told me that the oven was hot. And because I didn't understand what the word hot meant, I had no fear of that oven. I didn't understand the risk. But when I touched it and I experienced that pain of hot, that's when I began to fear the pain of hot. And I understood the risk. But I will say that wasn't the last time I touched it. So as I watch them, I see each success only make them want to explore and take more risk. And they actually hate being confined because they want to discover more things. You can see it in their eyes. Each success make them hunger for more, take more risk. And it just makes life better. So my question is it fear or risk that's holding us back? Because fear, well, that's built on emotions. And I'm not sure that's a place that I want to place my complete trust. But I absolutely want to keep that baby in this equation because you do want to analyze our fears. You know, why is there fear? What's causing it? Where are those fears coming from? And so they absolutely are part of this equation because risk is logical, not emotional. And we have to have that fear as part of that equation to create a calculated risk. And that is the place we want to be. It's not that we don't want to take risk, as scary as it is, but how much more reassuring is it? How much reassuring is taking that risk when it's backed up with logical, well analyzed thoughts and consideration? Calculated risk involves gathering all the data, accepting honest fear that stove was hot, and taking a hard look at the consequences, pain of success and failure. What's the pain of failing? And what's the joy of success? And then making our jump based on the logical, well thought out calculation of the emotions and the logic. You see, I've come to realize everything we do in life has risk associated with it. Walking out the door, we could get hit by a car, taken away by a tornado, taking a vaccine. Yeah, we can have a reaction, but not taking it, we could get sick. Signing your name, signing your name when you go into the military, are you signing your life away? Or signing our name on that next home that we want to buy? Do we want that commitment and that responsibility? But if we weighed it carefully and pick the best option based on our knowledge and tested data, well, then it's a risk, absolutely. But it's a healthy risk. And we need to take that risk to advance to the next level or the next stage of our lives. Taking risks, well, they open doors and improve our lives because wherever we fail or succeed, we've learned something and we've grown. And hopefully, along the way, we have made a change in somebody else's life too for the better. because I want you to remember we are not alone. And you're going to hear me say that so much. So, how can we learn to cultivate this art of taking calculated risks? How can we find a way to move forward past the fear? You know, false evidence appearing real. We begin by thinking big, but starting small. We know where we want to go. Remember my grand twins, but it looks ginormous. So instead of looking at the big picture, we want to start small. All we have to concentrate on is putting that one foot in front of the other. As Neil Armstrong so profoundly stated, one small step for man, or child in this case, is one giant leap for mankind. And all I have to say is, watch out, world, where those twins are concerned. So just put one foot in front of the other. So, you may fall on your tootsie, on your behind along the journey, but just get back up because your target is within sight and keep going. And I see it over and over again with those two. And second, don't forget. What do I mean? Remind yourself mentally of all the successes you had in the past when you took risks, but also remind yourself of the not so good failures and grab those lessons you had, that you had the blessing to walk away with. Did you get that nuance there? I said you walked away. So you're still here. You survived. Oh, and next, don't overthink it. Sometimes the mind is a terrible thing to succumb to. Don't go there. Don't play those mind games with yourself. Sometimes you just have to take a deep breath and just jump. Kind of like skydiving. They say that initial fall is a doozy, but I'll never find out because that one's not for me. So, how can we handle it all? How can we manage the fear and handle the risk? Ta-da! With a contingency plan. Yeah, that's the next one. I recently read on a personality test about my personality type, and I think it was Enneagram, that I'm the type of personality that when I walk into the room, I've already scoped out the exits and the paths to get there. Well, that's how we want to approach our risk. What's our possible plan B, C, and D? And what is the possible fallout from each one of these? Preparation is king or queen. And this leads us to the next point. What we want to ensure is that we are actually reducing the risk. In a nutshell, we want to not just be aware of the potential pitfalls, but we also want to find the ways to ensure its success. Knowing the pitfalls helps the chance of creating success and making it more possible and probable. And on the other end, it reduces the risk. I would implore you to focus more towards reducing the risk for success over worrying about those pitfalls. I want to have you focus your thought on the things that you can do to make sure you succeed more so than the things that have caused you to fail in the past. And one of my favorite and my most go to phrase when it comes to answering questions is do your research. Oh, Google and others are your friend. But the important piece that travels with this is validate and check your source. I love asking other experts and other people things, and I'm always quick to go to Google to find out something I'm wondering. And by the way, the reason I didn't check out that child psychologist thing was I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole because that didn't serve a purpose to this conversation today. But the thing is, whatever you decide to do research on it, check it out, but make sure that it's a good source that you're getting that information from. And finally, we must wisely choose our team, not just choose them, but use them. You will hear me going on and on about my two teams, our two teams that we cultivate in our immediate lives constantly. They're the P teams. I used to watch the A team, but now I depend on my P teams. You know, team personal and team professional. And I first introduced them in sticky note number 1 in episode 4. Now, these two teams are your wingmen. They hold you up when things are a bit overwhelming, and they help you soar when you take to the sky. And if you saw me now, I'm actually here with my arms out. I'm flying. Oh, I feel another song coming up. I got to let that one go. But I'm sure you get the picture of what I'm saying. Save this episode. I would encourage you and visit it again to help you remember how you can take the necessary risk in life without it being risky. Go back and look at some of the points that I gave you. And now I am so glad that you were able to hang out with me today for our ringside chat. You know, but I'm going to tell you, you are amazing. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you haven't done so already, make sure you hit subscribe so you won't miss a single episode. And one more thing I want you to do, and that's visit masteringyourmonday.com/pathway, because that's where you'll find my goodies and gifts for you. And let me know how I can serve you further. But just use that same link. Any references that I made to resources in this episode, I will make sure to include them for you in the show notes. I loved this episode because I got to talk a lot about my grand twins. And maybe one day I'll share a picture with you. But until next time, take care. I want to thank you for listening to the Mastering Your Monday podcast. I hope you learned at least one tip or technique you can walk away with and implement today. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the show, and let us know how much you enjoyed it and what you learned from this episode. We honor your time and your commitment to Mastering Your Monday podcast. And as always, we want to remind you, you are cherished, respected, valued, and in control. See you on the next episode.